Right, we are back in session. Parties and counsel are present. Our members are hearing their own truth session. Our witnesses back on the witness stand and regain their information.
Now, on the call detailed record, sometimes, as an example, for my client's phone record, I think it was 794, there are calls that are made from the phone that went to voicemail and didn't record a cell phone.
Yes.
And isn't it true that when a call goes to voicemail, whether the phone's on or not, it generally doesn't record a cell tower?
I recall that there are calls in there where the call went to voicemail or it did record the cell tower.
I understand that, but isn't it generally true that when a call goes to voicemail, it generally doesn't record a cell tower?
Objection to state's testimony.
Well, we will answer if that's correct.
My understanding of the records are when the cell tower is not registered, that it indicates the phone is either off the network for some reason, airplane mode, or powered off.
Okay. Again, I'm going to show you the testimony you gave in the last trial last month, page 8, lines 12 through 28. Can you repeat that, Steve? Is your testimony?
It's my testimony. Do you know what type of phone this particular case pertained to?
No, that's your direct, so. What did you say?
What were the lines that you wanted me to review again?
12 to the end of the page, on page 8.
Trying to determine what carrier this is, because every carrier has different ways of keeping their records. Yes, this testimony was for a Sprint phone. And Sprint, their records do not collect the tower data when it's routed to voicemail.
And so, your testimony on an AT&T phone, that if the phone is on and it goes to voicemail, it should record a cell tower.
That's my understanding based on the training from our cast training.
Hands you exhibit 794, because this is the one that I know has all of the calls for the AT&T phone linked to my phone. As we know, down the left-hand side is like the item number, correct? That's the call.
This is the numerical value assigned to it.
So they're actually in order, correct?
Yes.
So if I reference a call 3,327, it's easy for you to find.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna summarize this exhibit. If I can have my computer put up, please. I'm gonna start with call 8108. Actually, 8109.
Your Honor, this one I object was being projected as argumentative.
This is action, it's not, the objection sustained as, some facts not in evidence.
Will you please remove it from the screen?
Well, Your Honor, when the people did that, the defense objected.
Your Honor, this is inappropriate. May we approach sidebar? Counsel has comments.
The objection is sustained.
Okay. I'll come back to that. I want to go to a different matter, and that's call on February 10th on my client's cell phone. Which is which has been previously marked exhibit 495. You remember this call?
Yes, I do.
And this was a call that occurred at 10:38 p.m. That was hit on a tower in the Lake Matthews area of Riverside County, correct?
It was 12:38 p.m., but yes.
What did I say?
You said 10:38, sir.
You are correct, thank you. Now, if I show you exhibit 494, exhibit before, shows a phone call at 10:37 p.m., 1 minute before. 12, yeah, I said 10 again, didn't I? 12:37, I get corrections from both sides, p.m., where that call was placed in Rancho Cucamonga, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the azimuth, I believe, of that call was actually in a northern eastern direction. I remember, I think it was.
Objection assumes facts not in evidence.
No, but-
Well, he can answer if he knows.
Yes, the 1237 call was pointed in the direction of 100 degrees, which is essentially eastbound and a little bit south of east.
And based on that azimuth, is it fair to conclude that he regionally could have been at or near his home?
Yes, sir.
And so 1 minute later, there's a call on the tower at, in Riverside.
Yes, sir.
And I'll show you. Previously marked exhibit 910. When we plot on 910 here, where that tower would be.
What's 910, sir? I haven't seen that yet.
When we plot on this map,
Sure.
Which is different from the one being shown.
yes, it's more of a pullback version of the map of where that tower would be in Lake Matthews. Are you familiar with the area?
Yes, sir.
And so you kind of know where that map would be in relation, or that tower would be in relation to the map?
Yes, sir.
Okay, could you please mark it on that map that you have before you where that tower would be? And for the record, you put a black circle in the bottom right corner of that page, right above the blue area, correct?
Yes, sir.
And could you also mark approximately where the defendant's resident would be if it's shown on that map?
I believe it's going to be this.
Go to the other exhibit.
Would you mind, just so I can be accurate? Please. Okay, yeah, I believe this is the area right here. I'm putting a black circle towards the top middle of the page.
Okay.
Maybe, noted the same
Oh.
delta DR.
Yeah, you mark it in red and then put a DR or delta R. And can you maybe either if that ruler's long enough or if you use the edge of all line connected. Black.
What are you having them connect?
The point of the tower to the home.
The tower near his home or the tower near Lake Matthews?
They have.
Okay.
I'm gonna publish what we've done. Now, the distance between that tower and my client's home is approximately how long? How far?
I don't know. You showed me a map with a break, and I recall 18 miles or 17. I don't recall exactly what you said.
18.8 by Google?
That sounds about right.
That's as the crow flies, correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you review any Google terrain maps to show whether or not that cell tower would have line of sight to the home?
I did the one that you showed me a break. Yes, sir.
And does that appear to be consistent with your understanding of the terrain in that area between Rancho and Riverside?
Yes, sir.
From what you can tell, would that tower have line of sight to the home of my home?
It appears that that's the case. Yes.
Now, that phone call you recorded, that's the first tower, correct?
It's the only tower for that particular call.
And so that was selected by the phone as the strongest signal available to it out of all the towers around it.
At the time, yes, sir.
Do you have a term for what you just saw on this call?
Yes, we often refer to them as flyers. On occasion, you will have one call that selects a tower from a decent distance, yes.
And no explanation why it happened.
The only explanation I have is that this is the signal that the phone chose for this particular call.
The cell phone can pick whatever it wants. Proximity not always means that the tower's gonna pick.
No, it's a large factor, but in this case, it obviously chose a tower that was farther away.
And the azimuth that was used for that call, and I believe I could tell you what call number that is.
I have it as 9218, sir,
Okay,
if that helps you.
perfect. What is the azimuth for that call?
340 degrees.
Okay, and then I brought something for you that we had not seen since grade school, right? Trustee Dustin's protractor. When we draw, starting from the tower down there, went 340 degrees, what direction that would be, and use the red pen so we can show the difference. If you want to show a wedge, 120 degrees, or just a general direction, so people get an idea, I leave that to your choice.
I'll show 340 degrees is exactly on the black line already drawn.
So that is 340.
That is right in line with how that tower is oriented. So I'll put 2 red hash marks on each side of the black line, indicating that that is where the 340 degree.
You put 340 degree azimuth next to that, so we know what you're indicating. And maybe the call number.
What did I say that was? I'm sorry. It's 9100.
210, 12, 38. I can keep that here for you.
Okay.
We'll use that again. Now, I want to talk about the call on February 4th, 2010 at 9:32 p.m. This is exhibit 468. Do you remember that phone call?
Yes, sir.
Can you please find approximately where that tower is? For that call, I will bring you blue. That blue in here somewhere. Got your attention?
It's on the floor, sir.
I might have got ink on somebody, I apologize if I did. Is that the only one? Okay. Yep. Oh, I am not sick, but I have made a mess of this courtroom. I do apologize, Your Honor, we'll clean that up. Bring your green pen so we can keep the call.
So this will be an approximate location because I don't have the latitude and longitude with me.
You got Dan Muir in there, and you got what's that other street?
This appears to be Van Buren and Belgrave Avenue in the Marilona area.
And so you put a green circle to the left of Aruba Valley, correct?
Yes.
And can you put the call number next to that? 24 at 9:32 p.m.
It's call 9083.
And what is the azimuth of that call?
$340.
The same azimuth.
Yes.
And this call is placed exactly on that same line.
Yes.
Same one, meaning same phone number.
No, the same line is the same line as direct. I'll publish
Okay.
910 for all courts here. And that call would also have line of sight back to the house, correct?
It's possible. I know there's line of sight from Lake Matthews. I don't recall if I've seen line of sight from Aruba Valley back to Ranch Creek Memorial.
If there's no obstruction, is that a call that, in all possibilities, could be picked up at that time?
Yeah, I can't specify where the phone was when a call was made, so yes.
So that could be another flyer, he could have been home.
Objection calls for speculation, argument.
Yes, I can't articulate where the phone was when that particular call was made, but it was somewhere in the coverage area of that tower.
Okay, so if we can go back to the voicemail issue. We can go to my computer. Is it in there? Are we on phone? Right here. There we go. So the first call we'll deal with is call 8109, which is on exhibit 794. Shows no cell tower, correct?
Yes, sir.
But it is there on the call before, that was made 1 minute before, and it's a 12-minute phone call, correct?
Yes.
So the phone's on.
Yeah, he was in a call at the time.
So if he's on a call, then it wouldn't show the phone, the cell tower?
Yeah, it did not show the incoming cell tower, and I don't have an answer why. The 02M indicates it came from a landline to the mobile, so I don't know if that has an effect on it.
And then call 8110 was at 12:41, which is only 10 minutes after, but he's still on a 12-minute phone call, so he's still on the phone, correct?
That's correct.
And that one showed a cell tower.
Yes. That was a mobile to mobile.
Yes. Next call down below, 8113. Shows going to voice. This one is a voicemail call, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it doesn't show a cell tower.
That's correct.
But it was present 5 minutes before and 16 minutes after, correct?
Yes.
Call 8135. This is a message mobile to mobile to which no cell tower was collected, correct?
That's correct.
But there was a cell tower 3 minutes before for a 2-minute phone call. And then one also 3 minutes after, that was a 19-minute, almost 19-minute phone call, correct?
Yes.
I'm gonna interpose a somewhat of objection. What date are we talking about?
Let's call 8135, so it'd be 1510. Just going by the call numbers.
So the objections are eliminated.
We go to 8152, which is the following day on the 6th. There's a voicemail call, correct?
Yes.
And no cell tower.
Correct.
But there was another call received in that same minute that had a cell tower hit, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then I'll go to multiple calls that went to voicemail on 8168, 8170, and 8171. 2 of those went to voicemail, no towers, correct?
That's correct.
And all within those same minutes that those calls occurred, there's other call activity going on, correct?
Yes, sir.
We go to 8180, call went to voicemail with no tower, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then 8179, 1 minute before, had a cell tower hit, or cell tower data.
Yes, sir.
And the call that was right after it that he made on the same minute has the cell tower data.
Yes, sir.
And then again, we're going to 8188 and 8189, they're again on the 6th. Shows that there's a phone call that was made 11 minutes prior, that was a 12-minute phone call, correct?
Yes.
So the phone was on?
Yes.
And there's no cell data on the 8188, 8189, even though it shows it's on, correct?
Yes.
One of them's a voicemail call.
Yes.
We'll go to 8260 for on the 8th January of the 10th. Shows no cell data even though he's on the phone, correct?
Yes, it appears to be close to the end of that previous call, yes.
And then there was also showing the phone was on 2 minutes later by also data, correct?
Yes.
8277, which happened at 4:54, shows the no cell phone data, even though he was on the phone for over 13 minutes, which started 4 minutes prior.
Yes.
We'll go to 8331, which is on January 11th. Shows an 825 call. There is no cell phone data, correct?
Correct.
But it shows he is likely finishing up or still on a call that started on 811, just the call before.
Yes.
And 2 minutes after, you made another call that still shows cell tower data.
Yes.
Go to 8338 on the 11th. At 11:06 a.m., another phone call to him that does not record a cell tower, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
But he was on the phone on another call that started right before at 11:03 for over 4 minutes.
Yes.
Go to call 8346 on the 11th. Call that has no cell tower data, correct?
Correct.
But it was in the same minute, another call came in and it shows data for a cell tower, correct?
Correct.
8360 and 8361, which are 2 calls received by him from a mobile subscriber on the 11th, correct?
Yes.
He was on a 17-minute, 51-second phone call at the time those 2 calls came in, correct?
Yes.
So it was on, but there's no cell tower data.
Correct.
We go to 8414, on the 12th of January, shows a voicemail that came in, but there's no cell tower data, right?
Correct.
Yet there was cell tower data for that same minute right before and the next minute right after.
Yes.
We'll go to 8476, which shows an 8477, which are 2 calls with no cell phone data, so no cell tower data, correct?
Correct.
But he was on the phone at the time, based on the call preceding. Is that accurate?
Yes, it appears to be around the time he was on that call, yes.
And then he made another call at that same minute as the last call, and it shows cell tower data.
Yes.
Again, 8486 is on January 14th. Another phone call that has no cell tower data,
Yes.
but he was actually on the phone, on another phone call, correct, while that happened? Call both.
Yes.
And then 8496, same thing again. No cell phone, no cell tower data while he's still on a phone call.
Yes.
Then we have a tower missing on a voicemail call at 8519, which is on January 16th at 3:31 p.m., correct?
Yes.
In that same minute, he picked up and called somebody else, showing cell tower data, correct?
Yes.
And then also 3 calls in a row that went to voicemail that showed no cell phone or cell tower data.
Yes.
And then on 8553, which is a call on January 18th at 2:16, again, no cell tower data while he's on the phone, correct?
Yes.
And then 8622 through 8628 were a bunch of calls that came in that show some went to voicemail, some did not, but if you didn't pick up, it just shows no cell tower data, correct?
Yes.
8674, you have a voicemail call at 12:59, no cell tower data, correct?
Yes.
8675, the next call in 1 minute is a missed call, no voicemail, but no data.
Yes, I don't know if it's a missed call there, but there's no cell tower data.
And the call before that, 12:56, shows cell data, as does the call at 1 o'clock, 2 calls that show cell tower data at the same time those calls were coming in, correct?
Yes,
8697 on January 23rd, there's a 2:42 PM voicemail call that did not show cell tower data.
correct.
But the next call, the next minute, that was received, or at least it doesn't show it was received, but that shows cell tower data, correct?
Yes,
8718 on January 25th. It shows 3 voicemail calls right in a row, correct?
yes,
None of the voicemail calls show any cell tower data. Correct?
yes,
8738, which is on 126 at 9:56 PM. And this call shows no cell tower data.
yes,
But the same calls that were before and after in that same minute does show cell tower data.
yes,
8751, which is on 12610, is a voicemail call. Do you see any, no cell tower data?
correct.
But yet there was cell tower data for the call 2 minutes before and 9 minutes after, correct?
Yes,
Next one, 8775 and 8776 on January 28th, 2 voicemail calls, no cell tower data, correct?
correct.
And there was cell tower information about an hour and a half before, but also 1 minute after the last call, correct?
Yes, approximately.
Call 8809 on January 29, 2010 at 12:11, voicemail call that had no cell tower data.
Yes,
And the same minute, there was also another call made which has cell tower data, correct?
yes,
Go to 8839, January 31st, 2010, another voicemail call with no cell tower data.
yes,
And the call had cell tower data 5 minutes before for a 1 minute phone call, and cell tower data for a call that was received 1 minute after that voicemail call, correct?
yes,
Still sure that voicemail data does not record the cell towers on AT&T?
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
Are you certain that voice mailbox calls record the cell tower data on AT&T?
Objection still argumentative.
Overruled.
no, I was portraying what I was told in training. This appears that it's possible that the phone was on, but for some reason, while the phone was in calls, it wasn't registering the cell tower. I don't have an answer for every single one of these.
Seems consistent, more like Sprint.
Objection, calls for speculation.
Sustained.
And back to the earlier, page 12, line, poem. Back to freshman memory, maybe of what cell tower, or what cell phone company?
Line 4.
Four.
It just says, yes, I knew they were Verizon Wireless records.
Were those different records than what you were looking at, for those individuals? You look at mine.
Objection relevance.
Just clarify this stuff.
Sustained that as the
The prior testimony, you talking about Sprint cell phone records or Verizon?
These are Verizon. I must have, these are the same ones that yes, these are Verizon records. I apologize. I saw the switch name and I recognize that as what I thought was a Sprint switch, but now that you refresh my memory, those were Verizon records.
You weren't AT&T, but you just wanna make sure.
Yes, that's my mistake.
Yeah. I'll now continue down this road that has dozens more.
Objection, move to strike counsel's commentary.
We can go back to the overhead.
Ask clerk to instruct the jury to disregard.
Again, reminded that the statements of counsel are not evidence, and, only purpose of counsel statement is to give meaning to the testimony of the witness.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked Exhibit 461. Showed you this exhibit during the break. You recognize that exhibit?
Do.
And this is a cell phone call of my client, Mr. Merritt, on February 3rd. I'm concerned about the 8:49 a.m. call.
Yes, sir.
And that call, is it safe to say, based on the other calls in the area, that Mr. Merritt is likely in a northwest direction, possibly on the 15 freeway?
Objection, calls for speculation.
Overruled, you can answer if you have something.
Yes, I believe on direct, we stated it was consistent with travel on Interstate 15 corridor in that general area.
And that cell tower that picked up that phone call is not the closest one to the freeway, correct?
No, sir.
All the blue dots represent other towers that are managed by AT&T.
Yes, sir.
So there was at least 5 towers that may have been closer.
Objection, calls for speculation as to where the phone was actually located at the time the call took place.
Question was covered, overruled.
There are many towers around that particular tower near the freeway.
And I'm going to show you Exhibit 523, which is a phone record you testified to for Joseph McStay for February 4th, and I'm really particular about the 11:58 a.m. call.
Yes, sir.
And that seems to hit a T-Mobile tower in approximately the same location.
Yes, sir.
Is it common for 2 carriers to have their cell towers in the same proximity to one another?
In certain situations, yes.
And could you explain those type of situations that, in your experience, you come across that circumstance?
If it's a location that you would consider sort of prime real estate, if it's in a position where you can get good coverage for a particular population and area around the cell tower, that's one of the reasons why sometimes you'll see multiple cell towers clustered together. And in some cases, they will actually share a same pole sticking out of the ground. They can lease space on that pole to put their antennas on top of it. Although most of the time they have their own physical structures.
And did you review Google images of the location of those towers prior to continuing on across?
Yes, at the last break you showed me this image.
And I'm going to show you Exhibit 911. That appeared to be that cell tower that's both, or the tower that's occupied by both AT&T and T-Mobile at that prime real estate.
Objection, lacks foundation.
Overruled, you can answer if you have something.
Yeah, based on the latitude and longitude, yeah, it's a photograph that you downloaded, but it does appear to be that that's the same location where those 2 towers are located.
And where are those towers?
They appear to be up on a hillside.
And so, being up on a hillside, prime real estate, would you say?
For this 2G technology, yes.
And there's also, I should say, if you take a look at the bottom part of 911, showing the height or altitude of that tower.
Yes, the profile shows that it is significantly higher than the terminating point of the yellow line, which would be where the freeway is located.
And can you make out that altitude?
Appears either 1859 feet or 1869 feet.
I'll tell you what. Let's do that.
Okay, so it shows 1869 at where the tower is located, and I believe 1214 where the freeway is located, and that would be a difference of approximately 900 feet, I believe. I'm sorry, 600 feet.
600
My math getting a little, my brain's getting tired up here.
600 and change in feet elevation?
Yes, sir.
And that's not counting the height of the tower, which we would only know from the cell tower logs, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Because the cell tower height would be listed on those logs.
It should be.
So we're talking 650 to 700 feet in elevation to where the phone call is, or from the 15 freeway.
Correct.
Is that raised altitude a good explanation as to why that tower is likely picked versus the ones that are closer to the freeway if the phone's traveling northbound on 15?
It actually calls for speculation.
It's definitely an explanation as to why it would select that particular, why the phone would select that tower versus the adjacent one.
And it wasn't just T-Mobile, but it was also AT&T, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, the next part of this testimony will probably take some time, especially with the witness, and we know this will take some time
Okay,
to
so
do.
this would be a good time to take our break. Sure. And you want to resume with your cross-examination tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take our evening recess at this time, till 9:30 tomorrow morning. Keep in mind the admonitions previously given to you, not to form or express any opinions about the case, not to discuss the case. Again, that means not discussing anything about the case. You discuss the exhibits according to the attorneys, and remind you again, don't do any research on your own about cell phones or anything else. And we'll see everyone back at 9:30 tomorrow morning.